And we are back. We are here with Freddie and Lisa Thomas McMillan of Drexel and Honeybees. It's so glad to have you on. I'm sorry that the connection isn't great, and I hate the fact that we're not able to do this in person because of the whole COVID thing. I've read both your stories, and I'm just so happy that you guys are on the show. So tell me a little bit. Where did the name Drexel and Honeybees come from?
Well, I lived in California. It's been about 30 years ago. And I saw a building, and I thought, well, that would be a great little ice cream shop.
Okay.
And I started canning around names in my head, and Drexel and Honeybee popped up in there, and I said that's what I would name it. And that didn't come to fruition, but I kept the name, and I said if I ever get anywhere, a restaurant or anything, it would be called Drexel and Honeybees.
That's funny because what'll happen when I do commercials sometimes is an idea will pop in my head, and it'll sit there for months, sometimes years, and then eventually it does happen. So I'm so glad that, when you have a situation like that and you have that kind of dream, you make it actually happen. Now, how did you and Freddie meet, and how long have you guys been together?
Actually, we met in middle school, high school, and one day he asked if I would be his girlfriend, and I told him no, and I took off running. But he only been married for 9 years, so we met again about 9 years ago, and 3 months later we decided to get married. So we actually grew up together.
I hear the phone ringing in the background. If that's my wife, I just left. Okay.
Okay.
Now, Lisa, in your 50s, you actually did 2 solo walks to raise awareness for hunger. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Well, the first one day we were sitting around, I was talking to my sister, and we didn't have any funds or anything, and I was asking her, I said, well, I wonder what you got, what would we have to do to get people's attention and to let them know, this was in 2004, that people are hungry in Alabama and in this country. I said, what would we have to do? And the thought came in my head. I told him, I said, what I'm going to do, I'm going to type up a letter, and I'm going to walk to Montgomery and take it to the governor to show people how serious the issue is, and maybe that would make them want to do more. And that's what we decided to do. So we took off walking. It took 6 days to get there, and we delivered a letter to, it was Bob Riley at the time. He was the governor of Alabama. And that year when I walked to Montgomery, I said then that the next year I would walk to Washington to take a letter to the president. And the next year we walked to Washington. It took 55 days.
Oh, wow.
Yes. But we weren't able to see the president, but our congressman made sure he got the letter and everything. But, even though we didn't get a lot of attention for that, it's still, a lot of people stopped. We talked to a lot of people, and we felt like we had really done a good job in trying to get the word out about hunger, because we knew that hunger was a very important issue. So that was our main focus.
And I know that feeding the community has been something that you started, well before Drexel and Honeybees. I mean, you've been pretty much doing it all along, right? Yes, we have.
We started a nonprofit food bank in 2002. I had the first Drexel and Honeybees was in 2000. But before that, we ran into a lot of elderly people who were suffering food shortages because they had to make a choice, buy medicine or buy food. Well, most of them were trying to get their medicine.
Yeah.
So there was food shortage. So we started feeding elderly people in the 90s. And then we decided to become a nonprofit so we could get food from the food banks and stuff and do more. And that's what we did. But we've been doing this for a long time.
Now, you've actually at some point were even feeding people out of your own home. I mean, how did that come to be? And what kind of made you, for lack of a better way of putting it, have to actually resort to that?
Well, that was the elderly people. We decided that, I was in a grocery store one day, and it was an elderly woman in front of me, and her bill was like $12, and she fell short. Mm-hmm. And I helped her. And when I got through paying for my stuff, I ran out and I talked to her. And I just started talking to her about food and where she was short of food. And she explained to me that a lot of the elderly people, they had food shortages. So what we started doing was every morning we would get up and do about 30 breakfasts. And we would go to Burger King and get the coffee, and we would deliver them all into the community. And that's how we started doing the feeding from my home.
Now, where did y'all learn how to cook? I mean, did you guys have any restaurant experience? Did you just learn how to cook growing up in your own homes, grandparents? How did all that come to be?
Well, I worked in the restaurant industry all my life, as a waitress, as a cook, and some of the places like Marriott and places like that, I learned how to do a lot of cooking. So that's why I picked up my cooking. It's just from working in the restaurant industry.
And how about you, Freddie?
Well, I got most of my cooking experience from my grandmother. She started teaching me how to cook when I was 9, 10 years old.
That's funny, because I was going to ask you a question about memories of your childhood that would associate you with food, because for me, it's the smell of garlic. My grandmother was Italian, and so she put garlic in like everything. So everything that so whenever I smell garlic, it kind of brings me back to that time. Do you remember anything specific that brings you kind of back to that time?
Well, when I look at my what I'm doing now, it never connected. But my father, he used to go around and get the expired food from the grocery stores. Now, we all know just because something that is expired doesn't mean it's not any good.
Mm-hmm.
But put it on the truck, and he would take it around, and he would share with all the people in the community. And it never dawned on me that that's, probably where all of this kind of come from, seeing him do that. But now, all these years later, he's gone now. But now I know that's where it comes from seeing him do that. And I have people come up to me now and tell me, I had never tasted cheese until your father gave me some. And it just, that's where I feel like, my childhood, that's where I feel like the connection is now to what I'm doing now is when my father used to do that.
Well, God bless you. Well, one of the things I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to commercial break, and then we're going to come back with you guys. We're going to come back with Freddie and Lisa Thomas McMillan of Drexel and Honeybees in Bruton, Alabama, right?
Right.
And we're going to finish up talking about this fantastic place that you've got there. We'll be right back.